Hey there, welcome to the Movie Review Mom YouTube channel. I'm the mom and I do the movie reviews. And my goal is to give you the heads up on filmmaking quality and content so that you can make the best decision as to whether or not you want to spend time or money or both sometimes watching a particular film. So today the movie I'm reviewing is called Leave the World Behind. This tense apocalyptic drama is now playing in select theaters, not a ton of them, but also on Netflix. The film is rated R and is 2 hours and 20 minutes long. That's pretty long. I'm going to give you an overview in a nutshell, and then I'll point out things I liked, things I didn't like, tips for parents, themes worth talking about, interesting lines, funny lines, and recommendations for other films that are sort of similar that you might also like if you like this one. My movie review mom grade is a B. So in a nutshell, Barack and Michelle Obama are the executive producers of this disaster movie of sorts. So do they know something we don't know? The story is based on a book and is about a family from New York who spontaneously decides to rent a home out in the forest away from the city when an ominous cyber attack knocks out their devices. Now, I haven't read the source material, so I can't speak to how closely the movie stays to the literature or not. So have you? If so, comment down below. Let me know which one you prefer, the book or the movie. Now, I know most of the time the books are better than the movie, so I'm just curious. The film was directed by Sam Esmail, who also co-wrote it with Ruman Alam. Now, here's a long list of things that I liked about this movie. First of all, the small cast is really great and includes Academy Award winners Myha'la Ali, Ethan Hawke, and Julia Roberts. Now, Kevin Bacon is also in this movie, and he is very good and should have received an Oscar by now, but he hasn't. So, boo. The music is creepy from the very beginning and filled with tension throughout the entire film. It's cute how there's this daughter in the story who loves the popular TV show Friends. She's obsessed and wants to see the final episode. I mean, we were all obsessed with this show, right? It does a great job of painting a picture of families just living their regular everyday lives. While some people may be frustrated with the ambiguous ending, I actually thought it was perfect. I'm not a doomsday prepper, but my family and I have thought about various scenarios and prepared some things just in case. It seems like the smart thing to do, especially if you're a parent. So now you don't have to be fearful or go crazy with it or even spend a ton of money. Just be smart about it and think ahead. Two sayings instantly come to my mind and came to my mind while watching this movie. The first one is, quote, better safe than sorry. In other words, I would much rather be prepared and have all this stuff sitting in my garage and never have to use it than to need it and not have it, right? And then the other quote that comes to my mind is, if ye are prepared, ye shall not fear. That being said, which of the scenarios illustrated in this movie do you think could actually happen? Comment down below. Me personally, I think several things could actually play out the way that they're illustrated in this film. And being prepared really does give you a sense of peace, knowing you've done everything you possibly can. And that's not to say that you're prepared for every possible eventuality, but at least you did your best, right? Rather than expecting the government to come to your rescue or even your neighbors to come to your rescue. Now, with so many countries that distrust and even dislike the United States of America, the possible scenarios that could cause events illustrated in this movie are countless. And that's what I think makes this movie especially scary. So let me give you some things that I didn't like or thought could have been done better. For example, the film moves very slowly, which might frustrate viewers waiting for something to, quote, happen. And there are a lot of unanswered questions. Let me share some tips for parents. This will probably bore older children and possibly frighten younger ones. There are so many unnecessary F-bombs, as well as other types of profanity, often spoken by kids. I hate that. Now, I understand that in especially tense, dangerous, scary situations, people are probably going to be pretty potty mouthed, and so I get that. There's a braless girl that we see in many scenes, many times in the movie, just saying. We see blood and some dead bodies. Firearms are shown. People are placed in very dangerous situations. There's talk of Iran specifically wanting to kill all Americans, death to America, as well as China and or North Korea as a political threat. Are those realistic? Absolutely. Some of the themes that are illustrated in the film are emergency preparedness, terrorism, fear, and I would say almost incapacitating fear, trust, helping others, protecting one's own, hopelessness, American culture and society, racism, unknowing. This is a long list, isn't it? The unrealistic feeling of being in control and the destruction of a country. Now, I always write down funny lines and interesting lines as I'm watching a film, just specifically so I can share them with you, so you get a taste for the script writing and the dialogue quality. So when I wrote down funny lines, I realized I didn't write down any funny lines. It is a very serious drama from the get-go. However, there are a lot of interesting lines, and you can see all of them on my written review at moviereviewmom.com, but I'll share a few of them with you right now. So I like this line a lot. This is a character whose name is Ruth Scott, played by Myha'la Harold. I hope I pronounced her name correctly. And she says, "What do you get for being so angry all the time?" That's a great question. And it seems like the world is getting angrier and angrier. And, when I listen to the news and my husband and I start talking, we both start to feel our blood boil. And that's not doing any good unless we're going to take action, right? So when you're just angry and, potty mouthing it to the world, consider what that's doing to your physical body as well as your emotions. All right, then another line, this is spoken by Kevin Bacon's character, and he says, "When the world doesn't make any sense, I can still do what's rational, which is protect my own." And he definitely does that in this movie. And then another interesting line spoken by Ethan Hawke is when his character says, "I have no idea what I'm supposed to do right now. I can barely do anything without my cell phone and my GPS. I am a useless man." And that line made me laugh, partially because the way we rely on our technology is frightening. And even our younger generations, Gen Z, especially millennials, even don't know how to read a map or light a fire or do what they need to survive if we had an EMP go over the country or in parts of the country. You know what I mean? And so, as a family, talk about what survival skills you might actually need to start learning about in case of an emergency. Now, of course, we don't want anything horrible to happen. I think doomsday preppers often secretly hope that something terrible will happen because then they can point the finger and say, "Well, I told you so," and it makes them look really smart. But I also think deep down, nobody ever wants anything like this to happen. So as I was watching this movie, I instantly thought of some movies that I highly recommend. The first is Red Dawn. Now, I'm going to recommend the 1984 version, which I thought was so much better than the recent remake. It's just a classic, and it was so devastating the first time I saw it, and I've seen it a million times. I've seen the new one a couple of times too. Another movie that recently came out, I think earlier this year or last year, I don't know, time goes by so fast, is called Knock at the Cabin. Now, that movie is definitely rated R for language and blood and some crazy stuff. It is super tense. And the whole time you're like, wait, what's going on? Are these people crazy? Is this really happening? And you don't know until the very end of the movie. And I thought it was kind of interesting. And then another take on this is a very goofy comedy that also points to some emergency preparedness and the illusion that we have any control about what's going on in the world, and that is Don't Look Up. It was also offered on Netflix, and I believe it's still available. All right, that's it. After you watch this movie, sit down and talk to your family about what you need to do to be prepared and consider all of the possible scenarios that could happen in your area. Now, don't get all frightened because fear doesn't help anything either. Don't worry about it because worrying doesn't help. Take action, and then you'll feel a sense of peace and you can continue living your life until maybe something happens. Anyway, all of that said, usually I say, okay, have a great day after I laid that little doomsday bomb on you there. Anyway, do your best and have a great day. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.